a few days ago, Konami finally came out and announced the long-awaited Silent Hill 2 remake. Not only it was a thing all along the past 3 years, but it is now being co-developed by Blooper Team, the same folks behind the recent game The Medium. Said Silent Hill 2, as it's referred to, not remake, is in development for PCs and PlayStation 5, possibly Xbox consoles as well, early to mid next year.
I see that town. Silent Hill.
But it's all over now. I don't need you anymore. I'm ready.
Now, in case you missed out on the update, Capcom released a new gameplay trailer for the Resident Evil 4 remake as well. Reconfirmation that the game is indeed releasing for PCs and PlayStation and Xbox consoles as well by March 24 next year. Resident Evil 4 remake is everything the original game had to offer, amped up graphically and gameplay wise, with even more gameplay elements and more action to boot. I don't know if this is legit, but word has it, now you get to even walk as you shoot. Check it out, in case you missed it.
Just let me go.
Listen. I'm hearing the president's orders and...
What is that? What do we do?
The lost lambs are escaping.
We need to go! I'm gonna get you home safe.
You can stop right there.
Ada? Who are you? And what are you doing here?
My faithful disciple will show her the path.
Ashley, run!
The entire world shall overflow with his grace.
What's happening to me?
Now, abandon your body.
Leave the girl. She's lost no matter what.
Now that he has chosen death.
Alright guys, Konami then actually went on a few extra miles and announced a brand new Silent Hill game going by the name If, or Silent Hill If. Said this will be our first new entry now after a whole decade and will take this setting into Japan. Surprisingly enough, it's now even being developed by an Asian, actually Taiwanese studio. Here's a trailer. Silent Hill F doesn't have a release date yet, but it is a next generation console exclusive as well.
is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun.
Next up, we've got perhaps the biggest surprise reveal of THQ Nordic showcase from a couple of months ago, Alone in the Dark, which is just a reimagining version of the first 3 games in the original series that were released like, 30 years ago, that are now being built from the ground up and set to be released early to mid next year. In case you are new to them, however, this is a series of survival horror cult classic, mainly horror games.
Maybe the Dark Man just likes it when you suffer.
Have you ever talked to a doctor about your condition?
This is madness!
Are you crazy? Fall on your knees, wear the mask, praise his name!
Number 8490. Your father is a brilliant scientist, and your mother is his assistant.
Number 5, we have The Dark World Karma. This is a psychological horror, totally new IP in the making since last year, however, something I've actually never got the chance to mention, but if you are a fan of horror games, I mean, why wouldn't you? This is definitely right up there with the big ones. The Dark World Karma will release around April next year, and it'll be coming to PCs and consoles as well, except Switch. Check it out, in case you missed it.
Will always be open for those who serve.
Now, please answer my questions. Are you aware that you shall pledge your allegiance to the company, both present and in the future?
To create constant pressure, absolute failure control.
Outlast Trials, on the other hand, the much-awaited co-op survival horror hit, is now having itself a little bit of beta. In fact, it had since a couple of days ago, and it'll be having it until tomorrow. I suggest you give this one a quick shot if you've been waiting for an update for it. Nothing really much to talk about here, except Trials here is a whole new twist as opposed to the series' traditional style, and it is only rumored to be released June next year.
Look at that pretty face.
Progress and harmony. Self-betrayal. A subjugation of perception. Guard. Chemical encouragement. Doctrine over person.
This is for your own good.
The final confession. Elaborate and inclusive, rather than terse, for an even greater emphasis upon the experience of personal rebirth.
At number 7, we've got Luto. This is a first-person psychological narrative-based horror game about this man who's kind of trapped in his own house due to some psychological effects of his own mind, and yeah, so hence why it's a psychological horror game. Where what you'll be doing mostly is solving puzzles as opposed to be dealing with freaks of nature, and this is how it really looks. Check it out, game set to be coming to PCs, PlayStation consoles as well, early to mid next year. Alright guys, look, Dead Space Remake is set to be released January 27 for PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X as well. Now this is for those of you new and all the way remade from the ground up to one of the most action-heavy horror games of all time, and bringing over everything the series had to offer and a lot more.
In this case, why are you here? Here to be punished.
Now, one more project revealed at the Konami's Silent Hill transmission event, whatever that was called, was, just in case you missed it, something called Silent Hill Townfall. I'm not gonna lie, even though there's really nothing serious to go with it right now, but the one I'm actually most hyped about. Why? Because it's the work of Annapurna Interactive. Check it out, this game's set to be developed using Unreal Engine 5 and due out next year for next generation of consoles only.
Anyone near you? When you figure that out.
Guys, Chasing Static developers about a couple of months ago finally came out and announced the newest game in the making, supposedly a third-person survival horror game through a Kickstarter campaign. In case you are new to it, going by the name Hollowbody. A game I've actually been led to believe will have about 2 to 3 hours of campaign just like Chasing Static, and eventually releasing by the end of 2023. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, on the other hand, just got itself a new trailer, indicating that the game will release for all platforms except Switch early to mid next year. This is an asymmetrical multiplayer instead of a 1 versus 4 horror game like the last Friday the 13th game. It'll now have some 4 versus 3 team-based horror game elements, and this is what it is all about.
You can't hide from me! It's your own fault.
At number 12, we've got actually a little bit of Fatal Frame action coming over to the West, finally, called Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. This is a survival horror game by Koei Tecmo that was first released all the way back in 2008 for the Nintendo Wii as a Japanese exclusive IP. The game is now fully optimized voice-over in English and on its way to the Nintendo Switch and other consoles as well around January to March next year.
We all come to a story with hopes and expectations, looking for an answer.
Alright guys, now in case you've been waiting on this one or any sorts of updates like myself, Alan Wake 2's development just entered its final stages according to Remedy. They even said that the sequel is going through some testing phases to know if all the thrill of Alan Wake and its survival horror elements are right out there with the rest. That's it. Game's now releasing for the next generation of consoles and PCs only mid to late next year.
I'm alive. This story is a monster.
At number 14, we've got the old Sker Ritual from earlier this year. Probably one of the most anticipated horror games in making as a co-op first-person shooter now, which is also the spiritual successor to the made of Sker. Just take a look. Wales Interactive just came out and announced that Sker Ritual will arrive in Steam with its first episodic content priced at $5 and eventually releasing as a full game early to mid next year. Inout is a co-op horror game for 1 to 4 players about this little town whose locals have been afraid of an old mansion where they believe to have been possessed by some evil maniac. And what happens next is you do become a member of a team of exorcists and eventually get to expel this evil force, hence Inout. You go in and hopefully out. Check it out. Game set to be released January next year. Now, Ad Infinitum, on the other hand, is a first-person survival horror game with a focus on atmosphere and story. That's all about this post-traumatic events of this German World War soldier and his now surreal, dreamlike life, upon which he's supposed to wake up and become sane. Check it out. Ad Infinitum is now finally set to be released fully for all consoles and PCs April 20th next year, and to accompany the good news, they also released a new trailer.
Is he coming?
Manchmal weiß ich nicht, ob ich träume oder wache. Ob ich hier in den Gräben bin oder zurück im Haus in Berlin.
It's like they've already buried you in their minds.
Coming up behind that, we've got, from a long time ago, a puzzle-based atmospheric horror game called Unholy that is now finally coming over to PCs and the next generation of consoles next year. This is a mature rated game, I do believe. It's a horror game, of course, and quite a bit in the same vein as The Medium, mainly because you get to play in different realities. Check it out in case you missed it, and make sure to stay tuned for that precise release date. Sitting on Steam with over 6 chapters as a free demo since a week ago only, 1 by 1 released, we've got here what's called You Will Die Here Tonight. This is a survival zombie shooter, top-down action, probably what you'd get if you were to mix Resident Evil, House of the Dead, and a little bit of Alien shooter. Check it out in case you missed it. The full game's set to be released sometime next year and for PCs only.